Well, good morning and happy Monday to all of you. Embrace the suck. That is what we're going to talk about today. Give it a few minutes to let people get on, but I know a lot of you guys are going to watch this later. So get on apexmindset.net. I just got that website up. If you need to book a consultation or get on the email list, that link should be in the description, or I'll put it in there later if I haven't yet. And we're just going to let some people pile in and get on, because this is also being live. We can answer questions for you in the chat and all that good stuff. So had a great weekend, in case anybody was wondering. Hopefully your guys' weekend was good. I've been gone since Wednesday. I went out to do some shooting, actually, a little bit north of here, with military, and it was very motivating. I love what I do when I'm training soldiers. We're living outside, but it wasn't too uncomfortable, to be honest. It was pretty good. Even those nights it dropped below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, frost on the ground, all that good stuff. It's pretty comfortable, pretty good time. Got a lot of trigger time in, got some shooting in. That's fun. In fact, I brought this to show you guys it was one of my targets just from zeroing. You guys can see what that looks like, So that's when you're adjusting your sight. The actual point aim was the bottom of the target. So that's what a good zero looks like. All right. That's what a good shot looks like. You guys are curious, want receipts for any of you guys who are interested in learning how to shoot. But anyway, that's what we're doing a little rifle training, nothing too long range, mainly with our M4s or AR-15 platforms. And it was a really good time, but it got me into thinking about sucking. Yeah. What was I zeroing? Just standard issue M4 rifle. That's it. So standard issue military rifle, not an M16, but an M4. So there's a shorter barrel than the M16. We were just doing regular shooting with a service weapon. All right. So it's training guys on what to do. The qualification range now that these guys have to do goes out, or pop-up targets out to about 300 meters. All right. And so you have targets ranging out to 300, and they pop up and guys have to shoot them. It's actually kind of like, it's a lot of fun. It's a good time. So guys were doing that, and I was helping them work out their issues, and it was really good. Everybody qualified. Some people did really well, and that's, of course, rewarding. But doing all that, of course, made me think about resiliency and embracing the suck. I'll read this comment real quick. Paul, great video you dropped Friday. Can you do a video on how to get a girl curious about you? I will write that down. All right. Getting a girl curious about you. Yeah. Yep. That's building that curiosity. And I've posted that a few times, but my framework or outline, if you want to look at it like a flow chart, for where you're going with a girl when you're texting her. Okay. You have the initial contact, and then the close for the meetup. That's where you're going. And you want to be able to move that conversation to that close and get that meetup. We'll say quickly. I say quickly, I mean, sometimes in this day and age, you might end up with communication with a girl, especially if you got her off a dating app. You've never met her before. It might drag out for a couple weeks, but you're also going on other dates, talking to other women too, because you're dating. So it's just not a big deal. You're not tunnel visioned on that one hot chick. Yes, we do need to get super chats. I think I can do it now. I'm monetized now. I don't know how to do the super chat thing yet. Haven't crossed that bridge yet. We'll get to it. I appreciate you though. For now, you can just, the good thing about super chats, besides the fact that you can support the channel, and I do appreciate that stuff, is that I can see what your questions are. Sometimes people ask a question, and I'll miss it. So no ammo shortage is not discussed in the military, and I don't want to get into too much military like details, if you know what I mean. But that's okay. As far as ammo shortage, though, that because of cost of ammo and shortage, yeah, I hadn't shot in like a year, which is not normal for me. Usually, I go to the range, sometimes once a month, and get a good shoot in. It's a good hobby for me, as well as a passion, and as well as something that kept me alive overseas. But I took a long break from that due to the instability. I have a lot of rounds and stuff, and I didn't want to use my rounds up, so to speak, with recreational shooting with the instability that we had over this last year. But felt good to get back into it. So yeah, I'll just kind of share a quick little story about embracing the suck and what I mean by that. All right. So I say not going to get too much in the military details, and then I'm about to tell kind of a military story, but whatever. So we're in a doing some training, all right, out in North Carolina, and we're basically, we could call it a course, right, being evaluated, and it was unconventional, warfare type stuff. So a lot of the tactics and things I might mention here are exactly what everybody does. But we were pulling reconnaissance on an area. We had to basically sort out where a bunch of enemy, enemy, it was training, right, assets were at. And we were out for a couple days, and it was just four of us that were part of this little reconnaissance team. And we had a cadre member, an instructor that would follow us, make sure we don't, fall down and die, right, or whatever. He's also a part of that evaluation process, evaluating what we're doing. And so we're out, and it is in the wintertime. So that's not that North Carolina has brutal winters, but where we were at, it particularly gets pretty cold, and it's like a wet cold. I mean, in those days, it was dropping below 30 degrees, below Fahrenheit, so below freezing. And when you're out on mission like that, it's not like you're camping, right? You don't have, your warm sleep system and a fire and like all that stuff. Like winter camping is a lot less brutal and a lot more fun. And you're not concerned about noise discipline, light discipline, and a number of other things. And even just controlling the amount of sweat that you have, because if you sweat too much, and you're soaked from sweating from moving multiple kilometers through mountainous terrain or something, and then you got to stop, or you even have to bed down or something, and then the temp might be in the 50s Fahrenheit, and then drops to below freezing, and now you have sweat all over your body. That's a recipe for hypothermia. So there's all of these considerations to drop real quick. Hey, Caleb, my assistant Brittany probably will see it, what you sent, and set you up. I think I saw it. I'll take a look again though at stuff that you do. But like as far as scheduling and stuff, my assistant will get you all set up with that, and I'll see what you. If it's not scheduling thing, that's okay. I'll see it, later on. So I just got back like late last night. Anyway, so back to it. So there's all kinds of considerations that, like, as a civilian, you guys might not understand those things, and that's okay, whatever. But it's pretty, it can be pretty brutal, right? And so we're figuring out our next moves, and we have to bed down. Like, we're exhausted, and so we have to bed down, get like a few hours of rest before the next thing. It is frost on the ground. You can see your breath. Freezing, and we're decided to do a clandestine patrol base, which basically means clandestine means that we are find an area where no one wants to walk through that area, because it's not an area that anyone would want to inhabit, and then we hide there and get some rest. One person stays awake in this case, because there's only a 4-person team here, and one person stays awake, and we take shifts, and we try to get a few hours in. All right. And so that's what we decide to do. Try to steal maybe 2 hours, and somebody's up for 30. And then, so per man, you're getting an hour and a half, maybe broken up if you're one of the guys who's going to be awake in the middle of it. Anyway, it's kind of brutal conditions from what most people are used to. Right. And so the cadre member, the guy that was, following us, he just following us, and he's like, all right, well, and by the way, these instructors are world class. I mean, they're some of the most talented people I've ever had a chance to work with. I mean, they just knew and embodied what they were doing, right? Which is why they were instructors. They were so good at it, a lot of them. Some of them were there for different reasons, but a lot of them, though, there was quite a few who were very good. And so this guy, he's just like, oh, so you guys gonna bed down here? And we're like, yeah, we're gonna, patrol base. Like, oh, okay, cool. And so then he just like takes out like what would amount to like a camping blanket, almost like a space blanket, just lays on the ground in the frost, takes out a space blanket, gets underneath it, and then just racks out, goes to sleep. All right. Now I'm thinking to myself, as we're getting set up and to do about the same, like this guy didn't pull out a sleeping mat, didn't pull out ground cover, didn't pull out anything. He had what he was wearing that protected him very minimally from the elements. And then he had this little space blanket that would keep him alive while he shut his eyes, got a few hours of sleep along with us to then get up the next day and follow us through the rest of our missions and stuff, right? So he's doing it right along with us. But his like level of embracing the suck was just at a better level than we were at the time. This is years ago, of course. And I remember watching this dude like, man, like what? It's like he couldn't have been comfortable. There's no way, he's really surviving. He was able to survive. He was able to not die in the frost, but he just embraced it without question, without thinking about it, without crying about it, without complaining, no bitching, right? Just decided, all right, I'm just going to embrace this and do it. And that was it. The amount of resiliency, it was a small thing. This dude would never remember it. He wouldn't care. He wouldn't think about it. Like how many groups of people he's walked with as an instructor, how many people he's taught over a couple of years, in teaching in this course as part of his, tour of duty, if you want to call it that. He this was drop in the bucket for him, right? But like that simple move right there just demonstrates how resilient this person was and how resilient we were being trained to be as well. He just embodied that resiliency. He knew how to, as we say in the military sometimes, is he knew how to embrace the suck. People nowadays don't have that resiliency in general. They don't. In fact, any bit of discomfort ruins them. People don't know how to just be uncomfortable and be okay with that. Now, of course, I bet you this guy who's laying in the frost with a space blanket, just enough to keep him alive, and makes the decision, I'm just going to sleep now because this is what I have to do for survival. I bet you he likes room service just like everybody else. You know what I mean? If I'm planning a vacation, it's not going to involve me laying in the frost and, being near death to get an hour and a half of sleep to get up and walk around some more with a bunch of weight on my body. Or, that's not my idea of a good time. I can do that, but it's not like what my choices are. My choices are a beach and food and women and sunlight and some and room service. You know what I mean? Like, and so that would be his choice too. And I've talked to him after, of course, and then interacted with him quite a bit. He's just like a normal person. So it's not like he lowers his standards. You know what I mean? He's not living like a homeless person every day. The guy's standards are high. Okay. But he just knew how to suck it up and do what it takes, right? Do what it takes to get whatever it is that he needs to do. He knew what to do, and he just embraced it without question. This is what I have to do. This is what is going to get me to the next step, and I'm just going to frickin' do it, right? And that's a characteristic that I want to kind of impart with you today. Y'all couldn't be with me years ago during this training session and activity to experience this. But, you know, you can take the lesson with you, right? Sometimes you just have to choose to do it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's something that, you know, it's going to suck. It's going to be physically demanding or mentally demanding or emotionally demanding and taxing. You just have to choose. You make a choice. And you choose to embrace the suffering you're going to go through to get what you want. Now, was it Goggins? No. He's just an ordinary guy, man. That's all he was. An ordinary guy in that community. All right. I look back and see I got guys talking about butt noises. I'm not sure what that's all about. Pack light, freeze at night. Yeah. Well, sometimes though you're stacked with ammo and radio batteries and all kinds of stuff. You have no choice. Cool. I don't understand this guy. I don't even know how to ban him from the chat. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, homie. All right. So basically, what does not kill you makes you stronger. Well, maybe, you know, maybe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Maybe what doesn't kill you makes you weaker, makes you more triggered, makes you more emotionally stable, right? I mean, we can take a hardship and we can choose what we want to do with it. A lot of times that hardship can weigh you down, leave trauma, leave damage, leave you worse off. So don't mistaken, like, I don't think that you guys should make bad decisions and then suffer and then go, cool, I must be stronger now, because a lot of times you're not, right, from that. But that's also, you have to recognize though that is a choice, you know? So like, if you made some bad decisions, take it to relationship and women and stuff. Let's say you made some bad decisions, got in with the wrong chick. You got a lot of baggage from that. Okay, you got a lot of damage from that. Or let's say you haven't been doing well with women at all and you're getting ignored, pretended like you don't exist, or kicked to the curb by the ones who, you know, devalued by the ones that see you as existing. Let's say that's what that is, right? And that's going to leave a whole bunch of marks. What's the red pill rage, right? Is when you learn a bunch of truths and you realize, you know, that you've been screwed up all along and you're resentful, you're angry about what the world is like. Well, see, that anger though, that's a choice, you see. And so, yeah, I know it's not as simple as, well, I'm just going to be different. Well, no, you might have to do some work for that. I talk a lot about mental conditioning. All right. I'll write more stuff in the blog on the website about it. If you guys are interested in it, but it's things I'll do in session with people, but it's conditioning your mind so that you take these bad experiences and you learn from them and you become more resilient, you become better from them. And imagine if you could take every bad experience you've ever had, and instead of having it leave marks and traumas and scars and battle wounds that you're just nursing for the rest of your life, imagine if you could eradicate all that. And all that was left was the memory of the experience for you to learn from it and the effort you put in to just be better. It'd be like a superpower, right? You'd be unstoppable. That's what I suggest you do. That's what mental conditioning is about. That's what some of the things that I do with clients are about. You know, some of the, you know, trauma therapy, hypnotherapy, EMDR, NLP conditioning, meditation work, even something as simple as going to the gym. All right. So that's what that stuff's about. It's about conditioning this part right here. All right. Because your behaviors are going to be habituated, most of them. All right. They're habits, most of them. But those are habits that are based off of what's going on up in your head, based off of the paradigms that you have, based on your outlook, based on your emotional responses to those things too. And so being able to condition those things That's what it is. It's not just about going through bad shit. It's about conditioning yourself to be better from the bad shit. That's what's going to make you better. And that's what embracing that suck is all about. And not being afraid to go ahead and go into a situation. You're not going to volunteer it. You're not going to be like, oh, let me make myself suck for no reason. Okay. But you're pursuing something. And there's a thing that's holding you back. And it might suck to have to attack that problem. It might cause discomfort. It might cause you to have to deal with inner demons, right? Problems. But you say, F it. I'm going to do it anyway. And you attack it with vigilance and violence of action. And you solve those problems, you become better for them. Even if it meant you were uncomfortable for a short period of time. Being uncomfortable is a virtue. It's a blessing. You don't want to just be uncomfortable for no reason, like I said, or put yourself in bad situations. But being uncomfortable is what it will make you stronger, provided you do the right things up here. Get what I'm saying? Yeah, Groggins is cool. I haven't read anything by him though. A lot of people like him. I haven't actually looked at his stuff. So, I'll have to take a look, man. Take a look at Groggins. I know he's very motivating. I've heard him speak before, and I think it's great stuff from what I've heard. Jordan Peterson, yeah. Facing and Conquering Dragons, yeah, all that stuff, right? Yep. Well, anyway, that's my basic thoughts for the day. Some other things I want to throw it out there since we're on live, right? Is get some sunlight, man. Like, I don't know. I just posted on my social media. Like, first of all, I feel great from being outside and being away from technology for the most part. I mean, I had access to some stuff. There were a lot of places that were weak on reception. I wasn't able to do Rule Zero this week because of the training. And I was going to try to see if I could call in a little bit, like from a, undisclosed location or whatever, just to say hello, but I had no reception, couldn't do it. And that's okay. That's okay. So it was good being away from the BS. All right. The internet world. Okay. And the civilized world in some ways, but you can do that a little bit each day. Just go outside. I know it's like something really simple, but that vitamin D is like a performance enhancing drug. I don't know if you guys realize vitamin D is a precursor to testosterone to the point that some medical professionals aren't even considering it a vitamin anymore. I mean, they're considering it a hormone enhancement. That's what they're considering vitamin D. Men have much lower testosterone today than they did 100 years ago. And some of the reasons behind that, there's all kinds of theories about food and estrogens and products and stuff. But a big part of it is that people, because you're taking a test sample, that's huge, right? And so more people worked outside and did physical labor. So being more physical and getting outside and getting more sunlight gave you that vitamin D, increase your testosterone level. You can't produce the testosterone you cannot produce testosterone without a healthy amount of vitamin D. So the reason why guys' testosterone is low a lot of times is, especially if you're like live in the Midwest like me, right? We live in, Europe, Eastern Europe, in some places or pick any part of the world, right? That's north of the equator, or even far south of the equator, I'd imagine. I haven't been too many places there, but the sunlight is limited. And even if the sunlight's there, like let's say you live in a place with a lot of sunlight, a lot of you guys are locking yourselves indoors. I'm sure COVID stuff didn't help. All right. And not doing physical stuff, not just going and being outside, going for a walk. I started my work day on a table in front of my lake with the sun beating down on me. It was cool because I'm in, northern temperatures in Michigan, right? So yeah, breeze was going. It wasn't quite, maybe is like in the 50s, temperature wise, but so what, it felt good. Air was fresh. and that sunlight's on you. I got a little bit of sun here from being outside and on ranges and stuff. And I came back in like a terrific mood. I sent some messages out like that were like cool, like some people that needed me to, my assistant and some people for the business here, and got things going. And I felt really good. And I'm running on low sleep too, a little bit, because I got in late last night, and it doesn't even affect me. The quality of sleep I had for the shorter amount of time, although I do recommend getting a good 7 hours minimally of sleep. I got less than that last night, but I feel great. I wasn't even dragging ass, because I spent that weekend outside and away from the BS. So that's another little tip, a little away from the embrace the suck thing, is just spend some time out there, man. You guys don't spend enough time outside. Go for walks. Go for a 10-minute walk after your meals. You'll actually control your insulin, drop some body fat. Let's look in the chat here and see if you guys got any questions. And you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be on this topic, right? I mean, it can be on, got an argument with your chick over the weekend, whatever. You got nervous, went through her phone. I don't know. You got questions. You're trying, you're dating someone, you're talking to somebody, whatever. So let me go through let me see what we got here. Morning Conk. I had Conk on a religion episode. Got a little demonetized. That's okay though. I don't care. I just got monetized, so I don't really care if things get demonetized too much. I'll try to obey the rules as much as possible. I'm not trying to, just cross lines, because not having a video monetized just means people won't see it as much, which does a disservice to people who need it. That being said, though, I'm not going to censor the message. You know what I mean? Let's see. Okay. Any tips for veterans dealing with treating relationships like deployments and not getting close or trusting relationships? Yeah, lots of tips on that. I mean, so a little history. I got back from Afghanistan May last year for another deployment, and great deployment, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. And I had been, my LTR, my long-term chick, was a plate, or if you will, a casual dating partner at the time. And she's been she's been in a full relationship with me, put herself in that relationship while I was gone. Now, at least I would say, if I had to pull a statistic out of my rear end, but just by observation, probably about 70% of relationships just fail horribly when a guy deploys. Chick ends up cheating on him, or stuff just breaks up, or he comes home to a complete disaster, and he's not, her and him are estranged now, and they're trying to figure it out. Now, first of all, if that happens to you, get me in a private consultation and we can deal with that, because what that is a frame issue, a frame problem. All right. When you have frame with your chick, meaning she sees you as the best, she's bonded to you neurochemically, and her way of perceiving the world matches yours, that won't happen. You can do long distance for a period of time. I don't recommend long distance relationships full on, but there's a difference between a long distance relationship and you have to go away for business for a couple of weeks, or you go away for deployment for 6 months or a year. That's not really a long distance relationship. That's more of a pause, because there's a definite time that you're returning. Our long distance relationship is like you met some chick on vacation and she lives in Maryland or something, and you live in Nevada, and now you're trying to have a relationship and nobody has a plan to move in or change locations. That's not a relationship. Okay. That's a person you keep as a casual partner. And that being said, I kept my girl as a casual partner knowing I was leaving. So she just chose to commit herself to me and chose to continue to develop what we had started developing as casual partners. Why did she choose that though? Well, she chose that because of the frame I had. Now I have a whole series, a video series on frame. Start there, work through it. I'm on Rich Cooper's channel tonight at 8:00 before the train wreck on getting the frame back. So you're going to get more. Jonathan, tune in tonight at 8:00. You'll get, and I think you might even be able to call in I don't know how that works. So but we do call-ins, right? Which I'll get to eventually. You might even be able to call in and ask more specific questions. You'll get a lot more than tips, because whether you're a military guy going away on a deployment or a civilian or whatever, women fall out of pocket. They fall out of pocket. They fall out of line, and you can't trust them anymore. All this good stuff. Not good though, right? Anyways, so how do you deal with that? Well, I mean, how do you prevent that from happening? How do you have good, healthy, strong relationships with women, right? Which are drama-free, where they have maximum desire for you. How do you have all that stuff? The answer is frame, right? I got a course in development that's going to be out relatively soon. We're going to cover frame from start to finish, meaning from the pickup and the initial meetup to the development to the long-term relationship and structuring that, and then handling problems, like handling the shit tests, sex, and all the, handling arguments, all of those things that you deal with when you're dealing with women. I'm going to give you guys a whole lot of instruction on how to maintain frame in all these situations. And then we're going to do live, like Zoom calls, where you guys can apply it to your personal situation and ask questions, and we can come up with action plans to get to where you want to go. So it's benefit to anybody who is, maybe they're just in a conventional monogamous marriage, right? Or they're in a relationship that's long-term already, or they're in something that's developing with a casual partner, or a guy's having trouble picking up on women and dating. Even picking up on women is frame, okay? Because when I walk into an area and there are attractive women around me, there's a certain internal frame that I have as demonstrating I'm a good genetic option for mating. And then when I strike up a conversation with somebody, or even if I do so online, for the majority of you who are doing it that way, there's a level of frame control that you have. And so that's what it is. That's going to keep all your stuff together, right? Let's go more questions. How do you embrace the suck when you want to overcome alcohol and drug addictions? Well, I'm not an addiction expert, so that doesn't mean I don't have knowledge in this area. I'm just going to say, if somebody has addiction to drugs, alcohol, things like that, you want to talk to an addiction expert that's good in your area for that. So just want to get that caveat out there. That doesn't mean you couldn't also talk to me too, but I would want, that's a very specialized area. But that being said, yeah, getting rid of addictions and overcoming addictions, which I have helped a lot of guys with in different ways, right? It's still embracing the suck, because going through withdrawal symptoms, you're having to make massive changes in your behavior, your responses, your neurological and physical responses to your environment, to what you're taking in, to your social environment. That's a big one, because all the people you used to drink with, hang out with, if you're in a drug culture, people used to get high with, all that. I mean, you're going to have to lose some of those friendships. You're going to have to change your environment. Okay. So there's a lot that goes into that, and that's going to mean a lot of pain in the beginning for a reward at the end. All right. And so how do you prevent yourself from slipping back into doing something, right? Taking the substance that you're trying to get rid of. And so there's an element of saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it, and I'm just going to suck through this. And that's okay. It's not just okay, that's good. I'm going to suffer through this addiction I'm going to not take drugs. I'm not going to take the thing that I'm addicted to. And it's going to mean a lot of suffering for me in the short term, but that's good. Just having that mindset will help you get through whatever program, whatever addiction you're trying to get through. Let's see what else we got. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, wow. So the thing just bounced all over the place in this chat. How would you deal with a chick wanting boobs and you're not feeling that? She wants to get a boob job. I take it. That's a frame thing, man. It goes back to frame. you convey the message that she's less attractive with fake boobs. If she is interested in this is a good test too for you. If she has genuine burning desire for you, she's going to default to your opinion about her appearance and about how she's presenting. She might, shit test it or argue or whatever, or might, try to create some sort of barrier. But you also got to ask yourself, why not? I'm not against boob jobs, and I'm not for or against them. It depends on the individual. So ask yourself, what inside of you is making you say no? Is it an insecurity you have? I'm just asking because a lot of times I'll have an insecurity. Guys will have an insecurity. Well, if what's her motivation? Because the insecurity might be over she's getting a boob job, not for you, right? She's getting a boob job to signal to other men. She's getting a boob job, and she'll say it's for herself, but what is it really for, right? And so intuitively, you might know that she wants to signal to other men out in the marketplace and signal to the marketplace, even to other women, right? To look pretty in competition with other women. But what that means is she's getting validation from the sexual marketplace and not getting validation from you. So when you set the framework and set the standards of, you know what? I don't want you to get a boob job. I think you're hotter without it. And when you set that standard, if she doesn't go with what you're saying, not saying, again, she might shit test it because she doesn't believe you. But when you demonstrate and don't fall into her tests, and she realizes you're serious, if she's still determined to get the boob job anyways, she ain't getting that boob job for you. And that's something you need to consider, right? She's not in your frame then at that point, is she? Meaning she is not seeing you as her best, because if she did, she wouldn't be seeking validation from the marketplace. So that's something to consider. Let's go. Cox says YouTube hates Jesus. Confirmed. Probably, man. Probably. It's very woke to hate Jesus nowadays, I guess. All right. Let's see. Some people are talking to Scott. Who's Scott? See, this is why I need super chats. Oh, the drug addiction thing. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, get some local help with that, and get some support. That's another thing too. Get a different group of people to be around. When you're around a different group of people that have higher standards of living than you, you can see and really how they embody those standards. Like, what's interesting? When I worked in an alternative center high school, it was sad because this was a high school, right? And I was in college at the time. I went to, in case guys aren't tracking, I went to college before I went to the military and still decided to be a grunt. So how smart am I? Probably not very smart, but that's okay. So these kids, though, a lot of them they get high every day. That's like what they do, what they did anyway. And in their world, everybody just gets high every day. And their parents, their friends groups, relatives, and these people were functioning drug addicts, right? And I'm not talking about medicinal marijuana or something they get high, they get drunk, they have substance problems, and they're living a very low standard of living, most of them. And yet to that kid who's 16, 15 years old, whatever, in high school, they don't see that adult that does these behaviors has an actually very low standard for themselves. They don't see that because that person's an adult and they're a kid. So they see it as them having a high standard and that they're good. And in their mind, well, I can do drugs too. And then I'm going to be good. Like, I'll be, this is just a lie that society's telling you or whatever, like I can. And why do they think that? They think that because their circle of people that they're with are all drug addicts. That's why. So finding another circle of people to be in, even if you got to pay to get into it. All right. So I'm not grifting my stuff because I could send you over to Rich Cooper's 1% group too. There's other groups out there. There's free support groups you could go to, but getting into, and I'm going to have a group, but we're not going to be focused on that. We're going to be focused on mental conditioning and with, relationship dynamics, all right, and sexual dynamics. So sex, women, dating, and mental conditioning. That's what the focus of my community will be on, and that'll come with the course and then continue. All right. For those who want to join that community who didn't take the course, you guys will have an option to be able to do that. It's going to be behind a paywall, which keeps the riffraff out. Okay. But that being said, though, even getting in a community like that, yes, I know it's online and everything, but if you're around a bunch of people that are have a higher standard for themselves, you can see, okay, like this is a different way of living. I could see how this person lives. I could live like that too. That helped me in entrepreneurship. Being around entrepreneurs who are always struggling in their business and working 80, 90 hours a week or crazy hours, neglecting their kids, neglecting their family, neglecting their health, right? Just to make 6 figures a year. That was the paradigm for when I first started entrepreneurship. And then I got into different circles where dudes were making, 6-figure income was an effortless income for them. And really the standards are a lot higher, not just in terms of the numbers, but in how they live their lives, the types of ways they were leveraging themselves and compounding their efforts so that they weren't struggling all the time. I wouldn't have seen that if I didn't get in different circles and surround myself with people who are doing things differently. And so that's a big help right there, man. Like getting on this channel is cool because we'll talk about this stuff, but like getting in with people in your social circles that are better, that are different, that don't have these issues. You probably have family, friends that don't have addiction problems that you're ignoring because of drug usage, right? I don't know if that's you, but people though, in that situation. So that's going to help you too. When I say change the environment, I mean, that also means your social circles is really what we're talking about. And that can be useful, man. It can be very useful. All right. Do the yoga because it sucks so bad, but so good for you. Yoga's good. I actually do more like of a kind of, a lot of it comes from Eastern Europe, but like mobility and stretching stuff. But yeah, part of my stuff too. Hit the gym, right? Sometimes the gym sucks and you don't want to go, but you're always going to feel better afterwards, or you should anyway, or you're doing it wrong. All right. Okay. So what else we got? Let's go down to new comments before I got to bounce. Well, what's this one? Hey, Paulie. That's funny. A lot of people, when I was younger, people call me that all the time. I'm a big fan. How do you keep cool when people are emotionally activated and berating you directly and indirectly, basically trying to put you down? I find myself losing my cool and flustered. All right. That's a good question, man. Very good question. So first of all, it's setting standards and boundaries. I'm going to talk about this tonight a bit on Riches Before the Train Wreck at 8 o'clock. If you go to Entrepreneurs in Cars, if you're not familiar with Rich Cooper, he does Before the Train Wreck. So helping guys avoid problems and pitfalls, right? Regarding women and relationships. And we're going to talk about getting that frame back. Oftentimes guys get into relationships and things start off really well, and then they lose frame. And then you have situations where your girl wants a boob job. You don't want her to get one. And then she argues with you and she wants to do it anyway. Stuff like that. Okay. That's a maybe even trivial compared to some of the problems that guys are running into. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. But yeah, it's part of that is setting standards and boundaries. So why are you letting someone talk to you in a way that is berating you? See, if someone is berating me, I just look at them and I might say nothing, call them out, whatever, but then I don't let that person interact with me anymore. I'm not wasting my time with people who are going to drag me down. So what circumstance are you in where you have to be around these people? And then what can you do to minimize that or get rid of it altogether? Right? That's the biggest thing right there, is setting your boundaries with your time and your effort. All right. Now, the other part of it is some internal stuff. You have to have no F's given, but everyone says that. That sounds cool. A lot harder to apply though. That's where the mental conditioning comes in. Right. So doing some work with meditation, and there might be some things. See, if you're affected by what people are saying about you in that manner where it's making you emotionally and mentally unstable and upset. I say unstable, meaning like upset, affecting your state, then that means that there's something inside of you that feels inadequate or feels weak or feels like these people, what they're saying has some clout maybe, or has some truisms to it. And what we need to do then is attack that, find what's in you that's deficient and make that stronger within you. Do you think I give a crap if somebody has something bad to say about me? If I don't, especially somebody who's not a person's opinion that I value, I don't, right? I don't give a shit. Okay. And it doesn't really phase me. It might be an annoyance or a small irritation compared to upsetting my entire state. You know what I mean? And so understanding or getting a complete level of internal strength where you understand that people's opinions about you, as demonstrated through their actions and words towards you, are filtered through their own bullshit. You know, they're filtering that stuff through their BS. It's not you. It's not objective. And even if there's some grains of truth to it because you need to make some improvements in areas of your life, who cares? That opinion that they have is not an objective one. And this includes your parents. This includes your relatives, your close friends, your girlfriend, your wife, all right? Your kids even, okay? Their opinions are not objective. I mean, to get a data point, if 50 people say something about you, that's now evidence, all right? But if one person has something to say about you, they could be magnifying your faults to a level that's unreasonable, or maybe even reducing them, right? To a point where maybe, you know, they're more than what they say they are. Why would they? It's all dependent on their emotional and mental state, the baggage and BS that they have. So when you really embody that, and that really everybody's behavior towards you and thoughts towards you is clouded by their own BS, you don't internalize it so much. Now, that's easy to say here, but there's some stuff you have to do to actually work on that. And it might be journaling and uncovering what's missing. It might be doing some guided meditation work, might be focusing into a different state. A lot of this is reactionary. So something happens, triggers a reaction. So you've habituated a reaction now. So it's habitual for you to react in a certain way when certain people are critical of you. So you have to rehabituate another mode of behaving, which is what mental rehearsals are about. So doing a meditation work where you rehearse responding differently. Now, that only works though if you're internally strong. So there's stuff we would want to attack with getting rid of the things that are holding you back internally. It's stuff I can't do just on YouTube for you. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that we would do when in a session, or something you could do on your own if you look into some meditation work and affirmations. But there's a lot of wrong ways to go about that. I don't have a clean resource or book on it. Maybe someday I'll write one. I have a book already that's so big I have to break it into 2 parts now. It's like taking me forever to get through the editing process, and it's like, whatever, you guys love it when it comes out. It's all sexual marketplace stuff, but maybe I'll do one on mental conditioning at some point. But I mean, that's a ways out, so that might not help you right now. But I don't know, there's a number of techniques that you have to do, but essentially it's getting rid of the insecurities, problems, and deficiencies you have inside, so that when somebody says something to say about you, you know, you don't internalize that. And also really internalize that when people have an opinion of you, this includes your chick, right? It includes the woman you love has an opinion about you, right? It's BS in a way, because it's clouded by her own subjective thoughts, feelings, emotions, and her own baggage too, right? And so you can't internalize that stuff. Stick around. We'll do more work on it. Get on an email list. Just keep getting stuff. And as I progress forward, you know, with content and with things, we'll have more things on that, okay, to help you out. Yeah, so this guy says here in the chat, it's usually a reflection of a person's shortcomings. Right. There's something inside of you need to work on. It's my superior officer in the home guard. Home guard. Okay. Oh, you're signal specialist. Okay. Sergeant. Yeah, toxic leadership sucks. I've had toxic leaders in the past. I mean, to the point where one toxic leader, we took his rifle on a deployment, took his weapons, and put him in a court-martial situation. So can't get into details about that, but I've had toxic leaders. And it's tough to get rid of them. It's tough to get out of that leadership. Dude, just work on you and don't internalize what that person says. You do what you got to do to be the best performer that you can be in that environment, and don't give a crap about what this guy has to say. Now, maybe in terms of his opinions of you. Now, maybe some of his stuff, maybe it's accurate. Maybe you have things you need to work on. That's fine. You work on those things, but don't internalize his opinion. All right. And that's assuming that it is a toxic leadership situation. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not going to know more about that circumstance here. Right. But take responsibility for the things that you need to improve on. Recognize you're a human being and it's okay to have some of these faults, and figure out what's inside of you that's deficient, that makes you so dependent on this other person's opinion. Because if the guy's a dirtbag, then why do you care what he thinks? It's still going to be uncomfortable when you're under his leadership, when you show up to training and stuff and you have to deal with this guy, of course, but embrace the suck, right? You're not going to be under his leadership forever. And there's ways to maneuver around it, and you'll figure those things out when you have a clear head and you're not reacting and responding, all right, to those negative influences in the way that you are right now. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Cool. Well, we're getting up on the hour mark, so I am going to move on a little bit. Piero, who has a survivalist books over in Europe and a YouTube channel. He's in the chat. Piero San Giorgio. I am totally from the United States and I can't pronounce words. So hopefully I got that right. Go to his stuff if you can find the things that are in English. It's pretty interesting. But he says hardships bring you experience and wisdom. God's show as every good show, I think, as every Monday. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, cool. Well, I'm not seeing, well, let's move down here a little bit. Yeah, no problem, brother. Glad to help you out. I'm getting laughed at because I know a little bit of Spanish, though. It doesn't really help me with your part of the world. Anyway, all right. Well, I got consultations to go to and things to do. But tonight, again, I plug in it because I think it's going to be a really good show. I've been on Rich Cooper's channel quite a few times, and I'm really excited about this one. So jump on before the train wreck tonight. And if you can be a part of that, if we're doing call-ins, maybe you get to call in and we can talk more about frame and stuff. All right. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for the support. Obviously, jam that like button, all that good stuff. I don't even know where we're at with all of it. I'm not looking at that screen, but jam the like button, share it, and all of it, guys. Make it a great week. Go be badasses. Go out in the world. Be alpha freaking badasses. That's what I want you to do. All right. And make an impact this week. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for the support. And that's it. Take care.